Welcome back to the Fit Life Podcast. My name is Joe Chroman. Today, we're going to be talking about women's health, nutrition, training, and hormones. Today, we have a special guest with us, Miss Marie Newhouse, and she is a pro trainer and is going to talk to us about what the importance is about nutrition, strength training, hormones, stress, and cortisol, mindset, and some action steps today. All right, let's get started on the show. Marie, welcome to the show. So glad to have you on the Fit Life Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Joe. It's been so awesome getting to know you. So thank you. I appreciate you asking me on.
Yes, absolutely. So let's start out a little bit of background about yourself.
Sure. My story is kind of long, but I'll say I grew up a dancer and then ended up pursuing the Marines. And in that time difference between being a young girl, dancing, growing up, and then getting to the point where I was in my 20s, like late 20s, talking to Marine Corps recruiters, I was very unhealthy, like in my 20s. And so when I talked to the recruiters, I was like, I was eating like crap. I wasn't drinking water. I wasn't working out. I had never run a mile, I think, aside from like the high school 1 mile run or whatever. And so when I started talking to them and decided to pursue officer candidate school, that was really the beginning. Even though I had been dancing since I was 3, that was really the beginning of my true journey, in fitness. And so overnight, quit smoking, quit drinking, started running 3 days a week, started strength training 2 days a week, eating real food. At the time I was married to my practice husband and we lived like right near McDonald's and we were eating it a lot. So we just started doing the things that you like hear about, like, because I had no idea really what I was doing. I just thought, okay, I'll shop on the outsides of the grocery store. So switched to Whole Foods diet. Sorry, we're going to get visited by my cat. And then I was overweight, but not significantly, but to the point where I knew that I would need to lose weight in order to meet the like height weight requirements for the Marine Corps. And in 3 months, I lost 30 pounds, which is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Like my body was clearly craving something more than just sitting on the couch. So I was selected for the officer program in the Marine Corps and went. And on my 3rd day, I was running the physical fitness test and I dropped from heat stroke. And so it was not particularly hot that day. So I think that it was just something in me that was not working correctly. And so I came home with no insurance, no job, no place to live. Like it was kind of a mess. But picked myself up after 3 months because my body had to heal. I almost died that day. So happy I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really kind of crazy when at the time, like I was in my 20s, I didn't know what the difference was between having a stroke and heat stroke. So when I'm laying there in ice, which by the way, that's what they do, is immerse you in ice. I couldn't feel my limbs. So I thought I was paralyzed. Like it was a very weird moment.
I can imagine.
Scary. Yeah. But so the doctors there told me that I could not do anything physical for 3 months. So that was in October. Come January, I started a return to run program and decided in March to do it again and was selected. So that was the beginning of it. Like I had to figure out what I was doing to get like not only how to be fit, but how to be fit like the Marines are fit, right? So went through training, was commissioned as an officer, and between officer candidate school, which is like 10 to 12 weeks, and then the basic school, which is 6 months for all new officers. In that time, I did amazing things with my body that I never thought I would ever be able to do. Like, Joe, I was struggling to get up the rope in officer candidate school, and now I can do it like it's nothing. So it's crazy how we can take what we think is a limitation and then turn it into reality. It's really quite cool with the proper training, obviously. So I ended up, after getting out of the Marine Corps for a couple of years, I was working in corporate and I was working at JP Morgan. Great opportunity. I just didn't feel fulfilled. Like I knew there was something else. And so in like 2014 or 15 or something, I bought the certification for personal training, never did anything with it. And then here, fast forward to the December before I'm about to turn 40 and my now husband, forever husband, I was like, it's now or never. Like I have got to do something with this certification because I feel the calling, you know? So that's actually how we're here. He supported me. Like, thank you, John. Forever husband, thank you. He said, because it's really hard to leave a 6-figure paying job
Yeah.
to now like go to nothing,
Right.
so starting from scratch. So that was 2019, by the way. So we know what happened in 2020. Um, so all of the testing centers shut down, all that. So I took my certification test when all the testing centers open, and that was in June. And so I started my business. It started as House AF Fitness in June of 2020. I started as a DBA. There was very little risk. I was training my friends and family.
Mhm.
And then I evolved. And this year I am now House Wellness and Strength, and I'm an LLC. And so I've grown over the past almost 6 years, and it's been really cool. And so for your listeners, I mainly train women.
Mhm.
I had originally thought that the female that I would train and coach would be like the professional busy woman, like ages 30 to 50. But through a sequence of referrals, I now mainly only train retired women who are like 50 plus.
Wow.
So the conversation that you and I were having about possibly having on today's episode is really profound in the world that I come from, because women, we deal with health. I don't want to say issues because they
Mhm.
can be solved, but they take a lot of creativity, a lot of advocacy with our healthcare practitioners. So just so all your listeners know, I am a certified personal trainer, but I am not a doctor. So anything that
Right.
you hear is like from my perspective or from interacting with my clients and trying to help them
Mhm.
navigate their health with their practitioners. But really excited to have this conversation because it's women's health has been neglected for so many years. And so the fact that we're even having this conversation is so special.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. That's awesome. Great journey. And that's the reason why I did having you on this show, because just seen a few things, and you and Emma, had a few podcasts together, and I love that. And I loved when just meeting, we have the same passions, and I just love that. And I have like all female clients, so I asked you to come because coming from a female's view aspect is obviously going to be helping even my female clients. So
Yes.
thank you for being here. And like I said, I'm excited about this. It's been a long journey for me. I just started this podcast. We're like in, I don't know, podcast maybe 10. So this is all
So
new.
great.
But me being a fitness trainer and health coach, it's been kind of a long journey for me. So which my listeners have heard probably my backstory a couple times. So getting started, just a few questions that I think would be great for you to answer with your background and everything. So we're just going to kind of go through some questions.
Sure.
And one of the main questions I love to know about is basically nutrition, and why many women feel like it's, I don't know, they're kind of confused. And maybe they're struggling a little bit on really what to do with nutrition. So
Yeah.
let's just start there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm going to assume, and it might be a wrong assumption, but I'm going to assume that the majority of the women listening, might be in the same age group as me. I'm 46. So even if that's just like, a little bit of that world, same generation. And my generation and the older, we really grew up in that diet culture. And that
Hmm.
is not it's not a positive mental
Exactly.
culture when you're thinking about eating, And so it's not a good way to look at food. You fear eating to gain weight.
Hmm.
And we were never really told to eat to fuel our bodies. Like we were never educated that our body is a machine and you have to fuel it with food. It was always calories in, calories out, more cardio, less eating.
Hmm.
And maybe in like this kind of goes into a little bit of the like we can touch on this in the strength training realm, but maybe you can get away with that in your 20s, maybe your 30s. But when you
Hmm.
hit your 40s, it's a
Hmm.
whole different world. And hormones obviously come into play with that. But when you're talking about specifically nutrition, we I think there's also a lot of confusion. Like you mentioned, people can get confused. It's easy to get confused. We really, like when you think about the whole movement behind how like carbs were bad,
Yep.
there's nothing bad about a whole grain piece of bread. Like, especially
Hmm.
my mom makes our bread and it is full of nutrients.
Yes.
That is a wonderful carb. But a donut from Dunkin' Donuts is not a great carb. Like it's
Right.
like you have to be able to distinguish these things. And to be quite honest, it's pretty easy. You just have to know how to navigate it and then figure out what works for you. Like, for example, there's nothing wrong with dairy, but if it's
Hmm.
bad for you and your gut health, yeah, totally, like do away with it. But I think a lot of it is understanding what macros are,
Hmm.
understanding how to fuel your body appropriately, and then maybe hire a nutrition coach, maybe use AI, like, trying to find the support that we need so that you're adequately fueled for the energy that you're expending, and then understanding how that food gives us fuel,
Hmm.
understanding like the difference between the macros and how they help our bodies. Like, fat is not what makes you fat, people. Like, ladies listening, fat is not what makes you fat. What makes you fat is overeating the wrong foods and then not moving enough. And then obviously there's hormonal implications with that. So,
Yes.
so yeah, so I think educating yourself is so super important because there is a lot of conflicting information. So if you're following you know, a social media influencer
Hmm.
and they're telling you to like, take this magic pill or drink or something, maybe that's not the right information for you.
Yeah.
I think getting the information from a registered dietitian or a health coach or a nutrition coach is very vital. And honestly, like I'm sitting here with a nutrition coach because I wanted to better know how can I guide my clients. I'm working on my nutrition certification. So it
Awesome.
helps obviously to like get that guidance from somebody who's been doing it for a long time. And we always have something to learn. Even
Oh
us,
yeah.
like we
Hmm.
learn from our clients every day. So
Absolutely.
we don't have all the answers, but we have to tune into our bodies. Our bodies tell us things. We have to listen. And I will say that I have some clients who are pretty anti like logging food, but if you've never logged the food before, you're just guessing. So
Right.
if I ask you like how much, like what does your nutrition look like in
Hmm.
general, like
Hmm.
every day? If you log your food, you can give those generalities. If you don't log your food, you'd be like, well, I might have this or I might have that. You're guessing. So to really get an answer, we have to find the data, which means
Hmm.
we take the data and
Right.
then listen to our bodies. Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely some good points and great information. And I always kind of tell my clients this: don't make it complicated, make it
Yes.
easy, and just let us kind of help you with that because, there is too much confusion out there. A lot of people out there telling you, hey, take this, you're going to look like me. And we all know they're taking roids and unhealthy. They really are. And to have good bones, good strength, and supportive health, you need to do it the correct way. And
Yes.
like you were saying, a lot of, especially the 80s, 90s realm was like, hey, don't eat eggs, don't eat milk, drink milk, don't eat beef, move, 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 move. And then you end up being just maybe skinny, but not healthy. And
Yes.
so I think to make it easy, this is just my view, and it works, is some people don't know what macros are,
Right.
but it's just simple as, your protein, your carbs, good fats, that's the basics. And keeping them balanced, I always tell people, I mean, and this may or may not work with women. I think it does. Is you know eat a good piece of protein every meal, whether you're a meat person or vegetarian or whatever. Eat that first, get your protein in, and then maybe eat a good carb and maybe eat some steamed vegetables or something. And it's once you do that, you're going to actually eat a little bit less, but you're going to be fuller, and you're going to fuel your body and your muscles.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we get confused in trying to weigh everything, but maybe just do it a couple times and say, okay, I know this is
Yes.
a 6 ounces of chicken. That's about 26 grams of protein or whatever. I know
Yes.
this. And so once you kind of get a clear understanding of what it looks like, you ain't gonna worry about weighing anymore unless we're in competition or we're trying to do something real, real precise. So
I love that, Joe.
yeah.
I love it so much. And that's very similar to the advice I give my clients. So the keep it simple is
Hmm.
so important because nobody has time. Like I'm tracking my food daily and every meal. It is a pain, but I know that there's a purpose behind
Right.
what I'm doing. And so you have to convince yourself there
Hmm.
is a reason, or at least just keep telling yourself there is a purpose behind this because understanding how your macros are balanced, just like you
Hmm.
were, the word balance is key, that
Hmm.
they're balanced for your body. That's what you have to find out because
Hmm.
there's no, and I love the lead with protein because it is so satiating. And then you get the fiber from your vegetables or your carbs or whatever you're
Hmm.
following it with. I always say what the recommendations I generally give, especially because most people don't get enough fiber, it's not a blanket statement, get more fiber. What it is prioritize your fruits and vegetables so that you get all the nutrients in those fruits and vegetables. So start with protein, then go to because you're obviously getting some good fats from the protein generally,
Right.
usually, depending on what it is. So good fats and your like fiber. And
Hmm.
then after that, what are you still hungry for?
Hmm. Yeah.
And if you are still hungry, then prioritize still like nutrient dense food. So that's actually a very good conversation that I had with my nutritional coach last week. You would think that a nutritional coach should not have to tell a personal trainer focus on nutrient dense foods, but we all have our things, right? Again, I grew
Right.
up in the 80s and I
Hmm.
grew up on cereal for breakfast. That's
Same
really
here.
hard, right? It's
Yes.
so hard to break that habit. And so when I don't have an easy meal that's prepared already,
Hmm.
my go-to is now Three Wishes. And so I can make a really high protein cereal breakfast, but
Hmm.
think about the nutrient density between the PB Fit, like
Hmm.
unsweetened peanut butter powder, and Three Wishes cereal, which is really high in protein, but it's still plant-based.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have all the nutrients that eggs do.
Right.
Eggs and sausage or meat.
Hmm.
So that's the other part of it is trying to really focus on how
Hmm.
do I fuel my body? How do I make sure my hormones are in balance? Because that's the other thing, ladies. Fat is for brain and hormone health. And so you can't just cut out fat. We need it to function. And it gets that much more important the older you get.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You
That
know?
is a lot of information, and that's why it's good to have podcasts because you can back it up and listen to this again on this
Right?
part. And yeah, great stuff. So moving on, which actually just falls right into strength training because we're talking nutrition now. Maybe some of your listeners not worried about strength training, but just maybe listen to understand why it's so important to you uh, for women's health, for hormones and everything. So, yeah, tell me about strength training and why is strength training kind of a non-negotiable for women, you know?
Yes. Well, it's funny you said maybe some of you aren't thinking about it. If you aren't thinking about it, you absolutely should be thinking about it. So,
That's exactly right.
right. The people that are friends with me on Facebook, like my personal page, I'm sure they get so irritated with me because I'm constantly like, knock, knock, knock. Hey, have you been lifting today? Hey, if you haven't been thinking about strength training, like you need to start thinking about it. It is a non-negotiable. So I don't know the statistic. I'm sure anybody could look it up or ask ChatGPT, but women are significantly more prone to fractures than men.
Wow.
If you were to, so all of the podcasts and like all of the people that I listen to are all about science for women's health. And I have this graph in my head. It's from one of the podcasts I was listening to with these four women who were all from different areas of women's health. And they were talking about the hormonal changes in women compared to men. And so you have this huge, like, peak of a mountain, right? For women, and then it falls like a mountain. For
Hmm.
men, it's like a little plateau and then like starts to go down. So with our significant drop in hormones, which I know we're going to talk about hormones next, but with that,
Hmm.
if you're not strength training, that's a really terrible combination because we are used to having this super high level, especially like it plateaus probably in our like 20s, 30s.
Hmm.
And then we're at the highest that we will ever be. And then it starts dropping in our like, for some sad, I'm sorry, women, it starts in their 30s, but generally
Yes.
it starts in our 40s and then it continues until you're done and you're in postmenopause. So the combination is really detrimental if you're not strength training because the drop in estrogen, and there's estrogen receptors all over our bodies. So you can assume that they're also in our bones. The only way to strengthen our bones, and I know that we're always fed, going back to the 80s and 90s, for strong bones, drink milk, eat
Yeah.
calcium,
Right.
it's only one piece of the puzzle. The
Hmm.
other is you have to have muscle to strengthen bone. And
That's
you
right.
have to have the right stimulus. So, like, I've been reading a lot and listening a lot about jump training because it's so important for
Hmm.
bone health. So, to incorporate, and that can be another whole conversation another day, specifically about strength training for like women as you get older. But just to keep it like surface, in order to strengthen your bones, you have to have strong muscles because they're connected. So if you
Hmm.
want strong bones, make strong muscles. And then you think about people who talk about like, I have bad knees or whatever.
Hmm.
If you look at a human skeleton, there's nothing to move the knee without a muscle.
That's right.
So if you have bad knees, likely you have weak quads, hamstrings, and calves. So why
Yep.
don't you think about it's more complicated than that, obviously, but the most basic answer is strengthen the muscles around that knee and you're going to be strong. So when you think about as we age and falling risks and then that's
Hmm.
hip fractures and these are things that are preventable. But we were not going back to the very beginning of the podcast. We weren't brought up in this mentality of strength. It was
Hmm.
all get smaller and thinner. But long and lean muscles,
Hmm.
it doesn't make sense. Just build your muscles. Like
Yeah.
if you have a picture, lady who listening, if you have a picture in your mind of like a model or an actress or somebody, like I think about people like Jessica Alba, not Alba. Oh, I can't remember her name, but it'll come to me. She's a Jessica Biel. She's married
Hmm.
to Justin Timberlake. I
Gotcha.
think of like her or like people who have some muscle on them, but they don't look like they're bodybuilders.
Hmm.
That takes effort just to look like that. Sorry, this is my cat Archer.
Hi,
If
Archer.
you're watching the video, he's
Yeah,
a
that's right.
very dapper black cat. He comes to me around this time every day for snuggles. So that takes effort, and
Hmm.
so long, lean muscles. It doesn't really mean anything when you think about bone health and metabolic health. You
Hmm.
need muscle, so we have to build muscle, right? It takes effort. So it's a non-negotiable for
Hmm.
overall longevity. If you're gonna
Absolutely.
like obviously you don't want to fall, but if you're going to fall,
Hmm.
then you may as well fall and know that you're going to be okay rather than end up in a nursing home.
Right, right. Absolutely. Which kind of something I've actually been reading in my studies is about women that are, fixing to be pregnant or trying to, in the process, first, second, third trimester. And it's so important to strength train before and maybe a little during because of everything that's. And what I love about what you was talking about is that, you know, you don't, I think sometimes women get confused, and even some guys get confused. Is building muscle is getting bulky, and it's
Right.
not. It's about getting
No.
stronger. And if you see these women that are bulky, they got more muscle than guys. They're taking stuff. This is not. It's either got to be crazy genetics, or you're
Yes.
taking some kind of huge amount of testosterone, or some
Yes.
kind of juice and that's what you're
Yes.
doing. So don't be afraid to work out and get strong. I mean, I've got a few clients, women clients myself, and that's one thing I always tell them is like, look, we're going to gain muscle, we're going to lose fat. Don't worry about what you're going to look like because um you're going to look great
Yeah.
because trust the process.
Yes.
Get strong because that's what we want to be. We want to be stronger. We want to be leaner, and longevity is reason why
Yes.
we exercise. And I think sometimes, especially with the females, they get scared that they're going to get
Yes.
bulky. And like
Yes.
you've been working out for how long? How long you been in fitness?
Yeah, for real, since I was like 28.
Yeah.
And like this is even a small muscle. I'm
Yeah.
really working on developing my legs now because
Hmm.
that's again like a longevity muscle, your
Yeah.
glutes, right? So you're right. You will have to lift really heavy weight a lot for
Hmm.
many years, possibly with help, meaning steroids, in
Yes.
order to look that way.
Yeah.
We don't have the genetics. Women are not as predisposed as men are
Hmm.
to have muscle. Our jobs as women,
Hmm.
when it comes to biology and
Yes.
anatomy, to have babies.
That's right. That's right.
That's exactly what our jobs is, our body's job. So you mentioned, so I'm pre-postnatal certified as well as
Awesome.
pelvic floor fitness.
Hmm.
So yes, I actually, when that was part of my business journey, actually. June of 2020, I started my business. And then January of 2021, I found out I was pregnant. And
Okay.
so I thought that it would change the trajectory of my business. So I decided to get this combined certification of pre-postnatal, and then pelvic floor fitness is really for anybody because we all have pelvic floors.
Hmm.
But it was to educate not only for future clients, but myself while I was pregnant. And I had been lifting. So it's funny you should mention this, Joe, because it's a really good thing to bring up, actually. When I went to my very first appointment, and by the way, I found out I was pregnant by accident. So I found out we had been trying to get pregnant for like a year, and
Hmm.
I just thought maybe it wasn't in because I was older, right? I had my
Right.
son when I was 41. So I thought, well, maybe it's just not in the cards for me. I was on birth control a really long time. And I just always have
Wow.
thought that we don't really know like what,
Hmm.
long-term effects are. So, and how long it takes to like balance our hormones. It takes a long time, by the way. So, so I was, my mom and dad had just been to visit us that January for my birthday. And before they left, my mom said, maybe you should try some, what is it called? The needling, acupuncture.
Acupuncture. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you should try acupuncture to get pregnant. I heard that there's something, and I was like, oh, I'll
Yeah.
look into it. So I went to my first appointment. She asked me, are you pregnant? I was like, no. She's like, oh, very, very sweet Asian lady. Oh, you take tests before next time. And I was like, okay. And she was so sweet. She talked exactly like that. You take tests next time. I do your treatment
Yes.
different. I was
Love
like,
Asian people.
okay. I know, me too. I lived in Asia, so I love them.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, she was very sweet, and I was like, okay, I will take her advice to heart. So I had to pee really bad on the way home. So I stopped and got a test, and I went home and I took it, and I'm doing whatever, and was like, oh, I
That's
guess
the
we're doing
problem.
this. So yeah. So I found out at like 4 weeks, which is kind
Wow.
of early.
Hmm.
So I had that first appointment, I think at 8 weeks. And by the way, Joe, I had been strength training, like
Hmm.
lifting heavy, like
Hmm.
barbell work. And when I went to my first appointment, he was a very conservative OBGYN. And he said, just like he tells, I'm sure, all of his patients, don't
Right.
lift more than 35 pounds. So I come
Too
home and
late.
I tell my, right? I tell my husband, and he was like, but babe, you've been lifting more than that regularly. I
Hmm.
said, I know, and I was scared, obviously, because I'm over 40. I was,
Right.
the advanced maternal age, right? So everything turned out fine. I
Great.
did not continue lifting heavy, but I
Hmm.
continued strength training. I did tons of squats. Actually, if you go to my Instagram, you can see all the stuff that I was doing because I was really trying to make sure that women knew like you can do these things. And
Yes.
obviously, we know from social media, there are women who are lifting very heavy when they're pregnant.
Hmm.
The only thing that I would say is listen to your body.
Hmm.
The advice that is given by your doctor is usually a combination of this is the advice we've always given.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep giving it unless we get some like crazy research study that said, which nobody would do because it's women pregnant, right? And it's also CYA. Like they don't want to get sued. They don't, so I just listened to my body. I
Hmm.
ran until I think 24 weeks, something like that. But then
Wow.
once I got that
Hmm.
big, it didn't feel good anymore,
Right. Right.
And then even the strength training, I did that all the way up until very close to the end and was doing
Hmm.
squats the day before. And I had plans the day I went into labor. I was going to go to the state fair. My friends were like, what are you doing?
I
You're
know.
like about to deliver. I was like,
Oh, I
it's
feel
just
great.
walking, right?
Right.
I feel fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
I know that was a little tangent, but
yeah.
you hit the nail on the head there about that.
Yeah. And I think too is to me this maybe make this make more sense to everybody. But me looking at it from a male perspective is going to be different, obviously. But
Right.
I'm thinking of structure, muscles, and everything. When you're when you don't exercise and strengthen bones, the muscles, tissue, and all that, then your pelvic floor can get weaker. And then
Yes,
when that happens, you start losing shape. I think that's when you start having back problems, knee
you
problems, hip
can.
problems.
You
And I
can.
think, yeah. So what do you think of that? I mean,
So you are on the right track for sure. The pelvic floor is all it is muscles. You have
correct.
to train it just like any other muscle. And I know
Hmm.
that it's in an area that's like really sensitive to talk about with most people, but I
Right.
just put it out to my clients like we are going to use the exact words of our anatomy because
Hmm.
then you'll understand what I'm trying to explain to you.
Right.
And so there's actually so Kegeling is a very common
Hmm.
practice, but when an OBGYN tells us to Kegel, they never tell us how to. So that's why the courses that I took are so important for women who are trying to get pregnant. And then once they
Hmm.
do, knowing how to do a proper Kegel. And in my course, it's called the core breath.
Okay.
So it's a Kegel, but it's a little bit more involved so that you're using your entire abdomen. You're using the transverse abdominis, which, for those of you who don't know, is the deep core muscles that wrap around us like a corset. So you're trying to mentally like make that mind muscle connection and then also connecting with your pelvic floor and your diaphragm through breath. So when you effectively, I have a great picture. I could send you, I don't know if you'd be able to put it up, but I have a great picture. I think I was around 20 weeks and I took a picture of me from the side, the
Hmm.
lateral view with my belly and with like relaxed and
Hmm.
then with the core breath. And there is a significant difference.
Wow.
So the fact that you can continue things like this throughout pregnancy, and then towards the end, obviously you don't want to think about holding anything in. You
Hmm.
want to get that baby out. So
Right.
so instead of doing like inhale to expand and take a deep breath and exhale, engage your muscles. When you get closer to pregnancy, it's inhale, relax
Hmm.
your pelvic floor, and then exhale and just stay relaxed. Like you don't want to be contracting, just let everything relax and get used to that relaxed feeling.
Hmm.
And then after you have little one, the first thing you can do is core breath again. So you've gotten all this practice for the
Hmm.
8, 10 months, and then you pick it back up as soon as you feel ready after having baby. So you're right. If you don't, and because your pelvic floor is a hammock
Hmm.
connecting different parts of your pelvis, yes, it can affect like based on how we're standing. So usually our pelvic floor is impacted by posture and what we're doing with our bodies, like pelvic wise, or our lower backs, or how we're standing. So it can shorten, it can lengthen, it can also do like one on one side and one on the other. So knowing about how you're sitting, are you slouching? Are you slouching when you're standing? Are
Yeah.
there's all these things. So getting in touch with pelvic floor health is really
Really
important.
good.
And I will just say, you can even forget everything that I said and just go see a pelvic floor physiotherapist, and they will tell you what the function of your pelvic floor is because they're a doctor and they will do an internal and an external exam. Even my clients, even though I have the certification, I always encourage that they go because it's vital information for your body.
Hmm.
And you've seen some videos, I'm sure, on the internet where women are lifting and they leak. That's terrible. Like
Hmm.
that should never happen.
Hmm.
That is feedback, right?
Hmm.
Their bodies are telling them something's wrong. The load is too heavy for the
Right.
strength of your pelvic floor. So there definitely all good information you could learn from a pelvic floor physiotherapist and then a plan of action.
Awesome. That's exactly why I wanted you on the show because that is some great knowledge. Some of it I probably don't know. I didn't care to know, but
It's
it's
okay.
great.
You'd have to seek that out
That's
too.
right.
But yes, it's all very helpful for your audience and your clients for sure.
Absolutely. Because,
Yeah.
I do have a daughter that is planning to have another child, and I talked to her a little bit about it and
Yeah.
sent her some research. So I'm definitely going to send her this podcast and say, just
Yeah.
Kendra, just listen. This lady is
Yeah.
so She's got it. All right. So
Thank
that is
you.
so cool. Wasn't planning on going very lengthy on that, but that was great information. I love it. I love the knowledge and love bringing the perspective of a female trainer to know all these things. And that's what's so incredible. So moving on, I know we're running low on time,
That's
but
okay.
I'm
I've
here for
blocked
the
plenty
long
of time
haul.
for you, Joe. Yeah.
So let's kind of move into maybe collaborate, the hormones and then the stress cortisol. I know already talked about hormones a little bit, but kind
Yes.
of elaborate on that in the premenopause, a
Yes.
little bit of stress and the cortisol. Kind of bring all
Yeah,
that
sure.
together.
They all can be kind of related, so that's fine. Obviously, they're different, but cortisol is tied into the hormones and the relationship between all of our hormones. So, disclaimer: obviously, I'm not an expert on this. However, I am on hormone replacement therapy.
Okay.
I actually went right out of, so I had my son September when I was 21, September of 21 when I was 41, almost 42. And I went right into depression. So like
Mm.
postpartum and then right into perimenopause. It has been an interesting 4 years because it took me a good year to figure out something was wrong. Because when you're in that fog, you're
Mhm.
tired, you're stressed out, you're like, doesn't this kid come with a manual? Like, what? They're letting us leave the hospital with this baby? We don't know what to do, right?
Oh, I love that.
So you're sleep deprived. And
Right.
in my case, I was really trying to breastfeed, which is very difficult for some women.
Hmm.
And it was for me. So and then you're adding in possibly pumping or somebody going back to work. There's a lot. And so and if you're predisposed to depression, which it does run in my family, you're more likely to fall into postpartum. But
Hmm.
now learning more about postpartum, it is hormone related.
Hmm.
You are at the height of your hormones that you ever will have in your entire life when you're pregnant. And then they come out and it immediately dips. And it's like, oh, where did that go? And you don't even realize what's happening. You just start feeling low, right? I'm
Hmm.
very, very thankful that I didn't get into the type of postpartum that's like, I don't want to hold my child. That would have made me very sad. I do feel for women who get to that point. Um, so that right into perimenopause, I kind of had to put the pieces together, but I was a monster, Joe, and I'm a very nice person. My
Yes.
husband thought I was a terrible human, I'm sure. He never said that to me, but I could see it in
He
his
knew
face.
better than that.
I know. We've never had fights like that before, though. So I knew something was wrong. And it's weird. In the thick of it, you think everything is right and you are right and whatever. And then you come out of it and you're like, wow, I could have handled that so differently, but it's not you. It's these
Yes.
hormones and it's really playing tricks on your brain. So, and it's real. It's
Hmm.
so real. So fast forward, I think it was like January of 2023. So now it's like a full year plus after having my son. I said to my husband, I cannot keep going on this way. Something is clearly wrong. So I sought out a health practitioner recommended by a friend of mine who was already on hormone replacement therapy. So I
Hmm.
went here locally. And long story short, I ended up on injectable testosterone,
Okay.
which, just so everyone understands, every human body obviously is different and handles hormones differently. So, a healthcare practitioner who reads your labs every 2 to 3-ish months and sees how your body is adjusting to hormones is vital. You cannot go somewhere. Big red flag if they pull your labs once, give you hormones, and then send you on your way to stay on that dose forever. It does not work that way.
Right.
Okay. And I'm saying that because I don't know who is listening to your podcast. And you mentioned Emma. She's a colleague of ours, another health coach, and she lives in Utah. And they're
Hmm.
doing hormone replacement therapy out of med spas. And I'm like, I don't know who would trust it, but some people clearly do.
Yeah.
They clearly do. So the way that the mechanism of like how it's delivered to your body, I think is very
Hmm.
personal. For
Yes.
me, you were talking about like like roids, like being on juice? I didn't even ask for it, but that's what happened. I was on a for those just listening, a quote unquote, like low dose of
Mm-hmm.
testosterone, but it was injectable and I was doing it, I think, once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And my testosterone went from in the 200s to the 300s and into the 500s.
Oh my
And my
God.
doctor didn't think that was a problem. That is a problem because
Yeah.
that's anabolic. Like
Right.
that, women should not be able to be on that level of steroid or testosterone, which by the way is steroids,
Yeah.
that long. You start to develop male type side
Mm-hmm.
effects. My voice is deeper. It will never go back to the way it was. That's permanent.
Wow.
So these are things that you really do need to think about. And I don't think that most practitioners are educating their
Mm-hmm.
patients on. So, when knowing that the normal range of testosterone for women should be like 4 to 50, you might be outside of that, and that's fine. I don't know how anybody would function on 4. I was at 12 and I was a mess. And
So
it
when you
made
say
me sick.
12, like, because I know like with mine, it's like in the hundreds. So explain
Yes.
that one, it's like one testosterone amount.
So same lab, right?
Uh-huh.
You got you if your testosterone level is in the 100s, mine was at 12.
That's very low.
Yes, I know. And
That's
for
like none.
women to, I know, for women to have a normal, again, quotes,
Mhm.
normal range of 4 to 50, who's functioning on 4?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane to me. So I think now I'm at like 80 because I switched practitioners because I
Hmm.
was like, this is insane. I felt great, by the way,
Oh, yeah.
like great, but that's not normal.
Hmm.
So, and I'm a happy person, but I was really happy. And I was also more like dude like my husband would be like we would argue and I would just look at him and be like, normally I would cry, but I don't have any tears. I just want you to know I'm upset.
Yeah. It's
It's not
hilarious.
really a girl response, right? Yeah. So, and there were great side effects. They're not
Mhm.
normal.
Right.
So, and when I say normal, it's like, what is normal for you? You
Exactly.
know? And so that's why like trying to find a quality practitioner is really hard.
Hmm.
It's
So
really, really
what would you say it would be? Maybe it's different for everyone. Maybe how they feel, whatever. Like the normal range, what a female should be. And I know maybe it depends on
yeah.
age,
It could, it
possibly.
could, it could. I think that as teenagers and then in our 20s, like we should have these labs as we age because then
Hmm.
we would know what our baseline is. I would
Hmm.
love to know what my testosterone was when I was in the Marines because
Right.
obviously that's another thing. I don't know if your listeners know, but when you strength train, your testosterone and your growth hormone, they all
Yes, goes
increase.
up. That's right.
So because muscle is so metabolically active, it
Hmm.
increases your good hormones to support your hormone balance and hormone profile. So I'd be curious to know like what if you have children and they're growing and you would want them to have that information when they're older, I would recommend having those labs drawn so that they know and then they have that information as they age. It would be vital, maybe not vital, but it would be really, really helpful, you
Oh,
know?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I don't actually know, Joe. I don't know how to answer that question only because it is kind of personal.
Hmm.
I started following this one doctor and then I started hearing like negative news about her,
Hmm.
but she was saying that her patients, for the most part, function best in the 2 to 300s and they're all women.
Yeah.
And sure, she's giving them a DHT blocker, which I just learned
Hmm.
what that is because now I'm on one,
Right.
but it blocks those male side effects.
Hmm.
So now I'm at like 88, and I think I'd probably feel a little bit better around 100. Like I do
Yeah.
feel better, but I felt great in 200. I don't want to
Mhm.
get back there though. So maybe like
So just for
100,
the
150.
listeners, what if you don't mind asking, what's your
Yeah.
height and weight and everything?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm 5'8" and I'm 155.
Okay, yeah, great shape.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of
Yeah.
give a.
So
So you're taller, much taller than my wife, and so that's why I was trying to get a percent. So it probably depends, like you said, depends on the person. If you have a good doctor or whatever, they're going to microdose probably until get you into where you need to be.
you would think so.
Yeah.
You would think so, but now knowing what I know about microdosing,
Hmm.
my practitioner did not do that.
Gotcha.
The level that I was on was too high. And
Mhm.
I've learned that I'm estrogen dominant. So those dips in estrogen, I'm not really experiencing those. It's the testosterone and the
Right.
progesterone.
Yes.
So I did try estrogen because one of
Hmm.
my newer practitioners thought that I was having an issue and I had serious side effects like systemic bloating and things like that. So no more estrogen, but the progesterone they have me on to help me sleep because I was struggling
Hmm.
with really bad sleep. And then the energy, the brain fog, the lack of motivation, all of that was testosterone for me.
Yes.
So it is helpful. Do your research, maybe interview. Like, here's I think a red flag too. The day that I sat in that new practitioner's office, she said to me, well, based on your labs, here's what I'm seeing. So do you want to do pellets today? I didn't even know what she was talking about.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was talking about testosterone. She didn't even say testosterone pellets. She just said, so do you want to do pellets? Thank God I didn't do it. I came home and I called Cigna, my healthcare provider, and they told me that there were 12 required um, pre-existing things, right? You
Wow.
had to meet all of all of them for it to be covered. Had I gotten them that day, I would have
Mm.
paid out of pocket
Yeah.
and it would have been outrageous. So never get anything the first day. And I even told her that I said, everything that you recommend, I'm going to go home and research. I'm not just going to do it
Hmm.
like willy nilly. So she knew that, but I ended up switching. So that was a local practitioner. And I now am with MIDI. So
Hmm.
MIDI is one of probably many that you can do online now.
Okay.
And I would say that it's individual enough, but if you want someone local, it is going to be harder, but it might be better. You don't know. It's hard to tell. So MIDI is MIDI that you can also go on to, I think it's called menopause.org, I think, and you can find a practitioner in your area or the closest to where you live who is certified by the Menopause Society. Don't quote me on
Hmm.
that, but it's something about that. They have gone the extra mile to get more education about menopause and or involving hormone replacement therapy. So a couple of resources for your listeners, but it be really picky. And if you feel like there's a red flag, take that to heart because you have to advocate for yourself and know that what you're going to put in your body is
Hmm.
you're comfortable with that. It's not just because a doctor is saying this is what I would prescribe to you. We're living in this world of like, it's kind of like the Wild West, it feels like, because everybody's just writing scripts
Yep.
that they don't really. And again, I'm not a doctor. So I don't know if they know what they're doing, but to me, it seems like they don't know what they're doing, especially based on my experience. So just definitely HRT can help though. Replacement therapy can absolutely help. It's been a game changer for me. And I don't know if my husband and I would be as happy if I
Hmm.
wasn't on it.
Yeah, I agree because I'm also on replacement as well because I was like at 122 or something. It was just
Hmm.
awful. And I really did not feel like doing anything.
Yeah,
Like
that's low for a
I'm
guy.
not a lazy person. Maybe my wife may argue different, but no, but I really not. I'm really not. It's just I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel
Yes,
like doing nothing. I didn't even feel like getting out of bed. My mind was just all foggy and
yes,
I just
that
couldn't concentrate.
totally. Yes.
And I've always been like a really active person. Been in, sports. I did martial arts since I was like 9. Played football, baseball, softball, you name it. I was playing ball. I
Mhm.
was always been very active. And then till I got married and then kind of had to quit, you know,
Yeah.
playing ball with the guys. But even then I was in pretty decent shape, and I didn't get married until I was like 29. So things started changing then. And anyway, long story
Yeah.
short, yeah, I think it's a very great thing if you need it,
Yes.
especially because I think, like, again, we're uh, gearing this to women. They
Yes.
need to understand that hormone replacement could be the answer, but sometimes it's not always the
Yes.
answer. You know.
No, because I didn't mention cortisol. So here's the other piece of it. When I was trying to get to the bottom of what was really happening with me, I asked that practitioner who by trade they're OBGYNs, that local office I was going to. And a lot of the hormone replacement therapy in our area is OBGYN. I don't know how it is in other parts of the country. But I asked her about cortisol, and she said, we don't test for cortisol. We'd have to send you to an endocrinologist. And I thought,
Hmm.
but all of these hormones are related. So you're omitting one big piece of the puzzle here. It turns out I did like an at home cortisol test, but it was called bedtime cortisol. It's one of those partners. I can't remember the name of the company, the Mind Pump Partners. I
Okay.
did one of his at home tests and it was normal, but my gut was telling me that my cortisol was spiking in the middle of the night because I was waking at 3 and I couldn't get back to sleep. But it was my progesterone. So luckily we figured that out, but it could be your cortisol. So
Mhm.
if you're seeing a healthcare practitioner who does hormone replacement therapy and nothing's really working,
Mhm.
then absolutely either ask about cortisol if they haven't brought it up or seek help from an endocrinologist who can do the test. It's a pretty annoying test because I asked the coach who was given like provided to me with that at home test. I asked her about like a more robust test and she said we can do it. It's just it's a little bit more expensive and it's a little bit more time consuming because you have to do it like every hour for like 24 hours or something crazy like that and it's saliva. So you have to keep it refrigerated and it's kind of a pain.
Oh, wow.
But if you did that, you'd be out 24 hours to get answers if it is your cortisol. So that part of it, I'd say I'd recommend going to an endocrinologist for that. But it is a piece of the puzzle that is really important. And when you think about how stress comes into play, let's not even talk about, or maybe we should, about stress. Like
Oh, yes,
women, we
absolutely.
hold it. And that's going back to the pelvic floor. A lot of times we hold our stress in the pelvic floor and then
Mhm.
our cortisol's high. Like we have all these things. So try and breathe. Number one,
Yes, absolutely.
try like if you feel like you are tired but wired, can't sleep at night, like that's your central nervous system talking to you. And
Mhm.
half of this, Joe, for anybody listening, is listen to your body. Our
Absolutely.
bodies are really smart, but we have to listen. And if you're going all the time, I'm not religious, but I was brought up Catholic, and my mom always said to me, which she needs to take her own advice, but she always said to me, if you're always moving all the time and you don't sit and listen, you're never going to hear the answer. So you
Wow.
can ask for that promotion or you can ask for whatever, but if you don't sit and listen, how are you going to hear the answer? It's the same thing.
I love that.
Just listen to
Yeah,
our bodies.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because, the older we get, the more we wish we did, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I tell my clients all the time, it's like you got to slow your reps down. Especially
Yes,
my they're like, but I'm like, no, no, slow
it
down.
is
And
not cardio
yeah,
with weights.
exactly. I'm like, let's worry. And then the way I present it is like, okay, let's get structure.
Yes,
Let's get some good structure, good posture, where we're
yes,
learning how to hold our core. And then when you do say a curl, bring it up nice and slow, no swinging
yes,
and all that kind of stuff. Even though we see it on these videos and stuff, these big dudes are just swinging the weights. I'm like, they're young and they're probably going to
yes,
wish they didn't later on in life.
agree.
Yeah, and because then your joints, your leg, your tendons get wacky, and you wonder why your shoulders are so tight and they hurt. So
Yes.
it's like again, relax. And it sounds funny because I tell my clients all the time, okay, relax, and they're lifting like, wait a minute,
I
how do
know.
I
Wait a second.
relax?
I know.
I'm fixing to
It is a
deadlift 200 pounds.
concept.
How do I relax?
Yes, breathe,
Yes,
breathe.
because
Yes.
that's the most important. Because how many times you've seen people not breathe and they do a
Yeah.
deadlift or something and just pass out? I was like,
Yes.
because you're holding your breath.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if they learn at the the very beginning is how
Yes.
to relax, hold your
Yes.
core, and learn how to breathe, it just
Yes.
makes it so much better. Like I start people with the bar. I don't care how long they've been lifting from somebody
Yeah.
else. I said, let's look at form and let's look
Yeah.
at breathing. And I want to
Yes.
see full rotation,
Yes.
not this short stuff, because
Full range of
let's
motion.
get full
Absolutely.
range, get the mind the muscle, and see how things work. And then when I
Absolutely.
start people like that, it's just totally different because
Yes.
you start what I always say, you're building not just your bigger muscles, but the support muscles. And if you're not
Yes.
building those small little support target muscles, we're going to start getting rounded shoulders. We're going to start getting weaker. We're going to start hurting. So
Yes.
all of that is so important,
Yes.
to learn to relax. Like you said, listen to your body because later on in life, I mean, I've been lifting for a while and then doing sports forever. I've got my knees hurt,
Yeah.
but I notice when I work out and I'm doing some deadlifting or something, the pain goes away. But I'm
Yes.
relaxed about it. But I wake up in
Yeah.
the morning, I'm stiff again. So
That blood
it's
flow.
a
You just got to get
vicious
the blood
cycle.
flowing.
Yeah.
Need
But
more, mobility in your life,
yes,
Joe.
that's exactly. You're right. You're right. More stretching
We could
and
all use more mobility. Yep.
exactly. Exactly. So great. So uh one of the last things I like to talk about is basically I think we've kind of talked about mindset a little bit, but kind of go a little bit uh in depth with that. And also basically what kind of action steps, like maybe three
Yeah.
action steps that our listeners can really put
Sure.
in their life in their toolbox today.
Yeah. Well, mindset, we did talk a little bit about it,
Hmm.
but I think the biggest thing that you could try and remember if you're trying to reset your brain, like maybe you have that diet mindset, or maybe you haven't started strength training and you're thinking you want to, or whatever the case may be, but it's something for you, then many times we look at our life and we're like, oh, these things are for me. It's not so important. They feel
Right.
selfish. I'm not
Hmm.
giving to my family. I'm not giving to my community. I'm not giving, insert whatever. I'm not working. I do not. I mean, my job is pretty awesome, but if I was working in corporate America still, I do not want to be laying on my deathbed saying I wish I worked more. I might think that right now because I
Right.
love my job,
Yes.
but yet you have to give to yourself. It's just like what you hear. You have to fill your cup first before you can fill others. And I think that's where I realized I had to have hormone replacement therapy. Like if you don't feel right in your skin, you
Hmm.
have to do something. So I think this actually, I can go right from mindset into the big hitters because this kind of works
Hand in
to
hand. Yeah.
accomplishing both. But when you're thinking about if you feel stuck or frustrated with your body, with your life, with anything, I think number one, you really need to self evaluate. Take the time to sit, no, I mean it, sit down and write.
Hmm.
Write out what are the big hitters. Are you moving your body enough? What does your diet look like? What does your fitness plan look like? Are you drinking enough water? Are you getting enough fiber? Do you get
Hmm.
enough sleep? How are you managing your stress? Like, really, really look at yourself. You can ask as many in depth questions. It's you. Like, what
Right.
do you have to be afraid about?
Hmm.
So really look, because you can say all day that you want to do these things, but if you're not self-aware enough to really be introspective and figure out what do I need to do to change? Like if you go every day saying I don't have enough time, I will be the first one to say 24 hours without kids and 24 hours with kids are totally different. However, I am important.
Hmm.
I can't do my job if I don't find the time to lift weights. I have
Exactly.
to be strong for me, for my clients, to show my
Hmm.
son what strength looks like, and so that he understands the importance of it, to be a good example for my family, for my friends. So it's important to me. How important is it to you? What are the priorities? And I think start there. Evaluate your life, evaluate yourself, and then see what the big hitters are. And I'm not going to tell you to act on everything because
Right.
that would be disastrous.
Overwhelming.
So
Yeah.
then the second thing to leave you with is choose one. Choose one of those things that are like the big hitters. Let's just say you drink 10 Diet Cokes a day and you drink one glass of water because you have to take your thyroid med in the morning. Well, maybe for the next 2 weeks, try
Hmm.
swapping one of the Diet Cokes for
Hmm.
water.
Right.
And then the next 2 weeks, swap another one. It'll feel so easy, but you know what? At the end of 8 weeks, you're drinking more water than you are Diet Coke, and you made a huge change in your health.
That's right.
And then pick another one.
Hmm.
So I think the biggest thing you could do is make it so super simple
Hmm.
that you're like, this isn't a big change at all. So then
Hmm.
5 years later, you've made 8 changes and they're all big,
Yes.
but you made them small.
Right.
So even if you can't do it, then hire a coach for a couple months. They'll help you figure out what are the big hitters, because that's
Hmm.
what our job is.
That's right. That's right.
Our job is to look at you from an outside perspective and say, may I recommend your body would function better if you drank more water than Diet Coke.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know how you're functioning on 10 Diet Cokes. I have a client who went from drinking tons of Diet Coke to more water. And every time I mention this, she's like, I know you were talking about me. I'm like, of course I was talking about you. You're a great example because you changed what you did. Yeah.
Look where you've come from.
But you have to have the commitment. And that's where, like, my biggest client successes are because they had skin in the game and they knew that they would see change. They knew it. So you have to know these things that seem simple: drinking more water, getting enough sleep, managing your stress, working out, to be like, to have the vitality to be able to live, So these are big, important things. So find the small ones and work your way up. Hire a coach if you can't do it on your own. And then the third thing I would say is, if you have never had your labs drawn and you are feeling anything like what Joe and I were talking about, like brain fog, lack of motivation, no sex drive, can't get up off of the couch, can't think of words, like insert all the issues that you have never felt before, go get your hormone panel drawn. And if you have a doctor and you ask your PCP, can you draw these labs for me? Testosterone, full thyroid, progesterone and estrogen. And if they say no, say, I will go find someone who will, because you are owed that information about your body.
You owe it to yourself. That's right.
Yes. And if you've never seen a pelvic floor physiotherapist, I would see one of those two. Those are my 3 things, which are like lots of information in one, but the big hitters, really, like identifying those big hitters, that's a big ask, but so valuable. And then you can take that into, step 2, which is identifying those small changes that become big. And then 3 is health stuff, hormone panel and pelvic floor physio. And there you go.
Awesome. Love how you bring all that together. That is so great. And what is so awesome, I love how you bring all that out. And I always, I say this a lot, make it easy, because we make it complicated. We think it's too big. Me having ADD, everything's big to me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh my God. So I have to slow down. Somebody nicknamed me Slow Joe. You got it, to slow down, Joe. And it's true, because I was like moving so fast. I need to get this thing. And then things were messing up for me.
Yes.
I was going too fast. So I always like to tell people, especially my clients and people that's listening out there, is if you change things, not add things, it makes it easier. Instead of saying, okay, I'm going to quit drinking all these Diet Cokes, and only drink. Just think about this. Okay, I'm going to change one Diet Coke for a water. I'm going to change maybe not watching a movie for some sleep, because that's important. And maybe just
stop at mid-movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's okay. It's going to be there tomorrow.
Right. And one of my go-tos is like a reset for the next day. Is I know a lot of people have a lot on their mind.
Yeah.
And so this sounds simple to me, may not be simple to others, and I don't do this personally. I kind of do it mentally, but write down things that you need to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
That just drives you insane. That not gives you, it makes you not have good sleep. Write them down, forget about it. And that frees your mind up to say, hey, I can forget about it and just have some growth, because it's going to be there tomorrow. And maybe you're like, well, I'm going to forget. Well, that's okay. You may only forget a couple things, but at least you have all of these things wrote down. You're relaxed. You're going to get more sleep. So that kind of resets your next day. And it's amazing how much better you feel overall when you get the sleep.
Yes.
And then you're going to feel like getting up and maybe doing a workout, maybe, doing things a little bit easier. So,
and actually, Joe, real quick, because of the audience that we're talking to, I would even take that a little bit and like modify it a little bit, because I have a really hard time falling asleep if I just went through my to-do list. But again, we're talking like male, female brains and like different ways of personalities. So I usually make my list before I end my workday. So like, this is my studio. This is where I work. So before I leave here, I go over, what do I have to do tomorrow? Obviously, if I think of something later, I'll add it to my calendar or whatever. But then before I go to bed, I'm not thinking about what I have to do. However, our brains work that way though, right? Like I'll wake up at 3 a.m. and be like, crap, I have to do that tomorrow. And I don't want to look at my phone because that's blue light, right? So I keep a journal next to my bed with a pen that has a red light at the base of it.
Okay.
When I turn it on, I'm not waking up my husband. It's not bright light in my face, and it's
Nice.
red light, and I can write what I'm thinking. And some nights I write like 15 things, but I'm able to go back to sleep because I just got it out of my brain. So it's a really good tactic. And the other one that I will mention, because all of my clients who have tried this, it's helped their sleep. So if you're struggling with sleep, this could help. So when I teach my clients core breath, which is that pelvic floor breathing, I recommend that they start doing it twice a day for 10 each time. And
Okay.
so like in the morning when they wake up and 10 before they go to bed. The clients who choose to do it before going to sleep, they all report back to me that they slept better. So you don't even have to learn how to do core breath from me, though I'm happy to teach you at some point, listeners.
Yes.
But just deep breathing, or you could search box breathing and learn how to do box breathing. But any sort of deep breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. So you're doing diaphragmatic breathing into your belly rather than shallow breathing in our chest should help you sleep better. So just putting it out there, because those are two tactics that seem to work well for this generation of women. I have another one if you ever ask me back, but I'll save it.
Absolutely. We're definitely going to have you back because this is like amazing. So where can our listeners find you with some of the stuff you've been talking about? Because that is like, fantastic information.
Sure. If they have questions that they just want to write to me through email, like not through social media, Marie@housewellnessstrength.com. And that's HAUS, all one word, housewellnessstrength.com. You can also find me at House Wellness Strength on Instagram and House Wellness and Strength, the ampersand, on Facebook. But absolutely, email is fine. Any method of those three is just fine, especially if they just have like personal questions. I'm happy to address those for sure.
Fantastic. So it was great to have you on the show. And for you listeners out there, this woman is fantastic. Back this up, listen to it again, because there's so much information on this. I'm going to have to go back and listen myself because it's just so important to, especially we're definitely gearing it to the women, but a lot of you guys can listen to this and understand maybe why your partner is maybe having a little bit of whatever problems, and you can kind of go on there. Hey, you know what? Hey, send this podcast to them because this will be great information. It may save your marriage. You never know.
You never know.
You never know. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Joe, for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Until next time, stay healthy, take care of your family, and we will see you on the next episode.